Yo, what is up, fam? It's your boy Legend, and I am back with another video. What if Naruto was the strongest Hashira? Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys. This video is late. It would have been up earlier, but as you guys already know, I do have my own business that I am trying to build, and I was downstairs literally not 30 minutes ago trying to perfect a recipe, and everything just went to disaster. Stuff spilled, had to clean it up, etc. Everyday things when trying to build a business. But that's besides the point. If you guys like the video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe while you at it. The like goal for this video was going to be 7 likes. If we could get more, that would be really nice. But without further ado, let's get into this intro so we can start this what if. The forest was heavy with silence, broken only by the faint buzzing of cicadas in the distance. Pale moonlight spilled weakly through the canopy of Mount Natagumo, casting distorted shadows across the ground like a web its own making. The air was damp and suffocating, tainted with the sharp metallic scent of blood and the faint sweetness of spider venom. Shinobu Kocho stood calmly amidst the carnage. Her butterfly-patterned haori swayed softly in the night breeze, her figure slim, poised, as if she were merely enjoying a moonlit stroll. Yet, at her feet lay Zenitsu Agatsuma, battered, swollen, and writhing weakly in the dirt. His skin was pale, almost translucent. His breaths shallow, and each wheeze carried the rattling undertone of venom spreading slowly through his bloodstream. Shinobu tilted her head, her smile bright and unyielding, as though she were greeting an old friend rather than observing a dying boy. "Oh my," she said softly, her voice a silken thread that carried equal parts warmth and eeriness. "It seems someone's been through quite a lot." Zenitsu's eyelids twitched at the sound of her voice. With great effort, he forced his swollen eyes open, their dull, amber glow clouded with pain. He blinked rapidly, trying to focus on the woman who loomed over him like a dream or perhaps a hallucination. His lips trembled, but all that left them was a croaked murmur. He had fought desperately, clinging to life with every shred of willpower, and now his body was nearly broken. Still, seeing her gave him a strange sense of relief. She wasn't a demon, she was human. She was strong. Maybe he wasn't going to die alone in this cursed mountain after all. Shinobu crouched down gracefully, her butterfly hairpins catching the moonlight. She placed one hand lightly against her cheek, studying him with wide, unblinking eyes. "Spider venom, how very troublesome." Her smile didn't falter in the slightest, though the way her gaze lingered on his face was clinical, as if she were cataloging his symptoms like notes in a ledger. Zenitsu tried to speak again, his lips forming the word help. But his throat was too raw, his lungs too heavy. Shinobu's smile widened, just a fraction. "Don't worry," she whispered, voice soft enough to melt into the breeze. "You won't die, not while I'm here." Elsewhere, on the mountain, chaos reigned. Tanjiro Kamado dragged himself forward on trembling arms, each breath tearing at his lungs like fire. His body screamed for rest, but his determination pushed him onward. His sword, once his pride and lifeline, was now broken, jagged at the edge. Even so, he had forced his battered body to fight, and he had done what seemed impossible. He cut through Rui's neck. The boy staggered, finally collapsing to his knees. His gaze darted to the side where Nezuko lay unconscious, wrapped in her wooden box only moments before. Relief surged through him, even as his body sagged. He had done it. He had protected her. But then, his nose twitched. The sharp tang of blood hit his senses. Tanjiro froze, his expression twisting into horror. If he smelled blood, that meant Rui wasn't dead. A slow, mocking laugh echoed through the trees. It was high-pitched, cruel, filled with the confidence of something that believed itself untouchable. Tanjiro turned his head in disbelief, eyes widening as he saw Rui standing tall, threads dancing around his body. His severed head dangled loosely in one hand, already reattaching to his body through glistening strands of webbing. "You really think you killed me?" Rui sneered. His voice, like silk, dragged across broken glass, his pale face illuminated by the moon, twisted into a smile devoid of warmth. "Foolish human. I removed my own head with my threads, a little trick to make you think you'd succeeded." Before Tanjiro could even process the words, Rui lashed out with a kick. The boy was too weak to block or dodge. The blow caught him across the face, sending him sprawling into the dirt with a sickening thud. Pain blossomed across Tanjiro's cheek. His vision blurred, but he forced himself up, staggering to his feet despite the blood dripping from his mouth. His broken sword felt like a feather, like a burden all at once, its jagged edge trembling as he raised it towards Rui. I won't let you," he rasped, his voice nearly breaking. Rui's smile widened. He darted forward, moving with the unnatural grace of a spider, and his hand snapped forward. A fist collided with Tanjiro's rib, followed by another strike to his jaw. The boy crumpled beneath the assault, gasping as his body screamed in agony. Rui laughed, his voice echoing through the night. "Pathetic. You're nothing more than a weakling pretending to be strong." But then, abruptly, Rui froze. A sharp, wet sound sliced through the silence. He glanced down in disbelief to see his arm lying in the dirt, severed cleanly at the shoulder. What? A calm, steady voice answered from behind him. "It's always the ones with little power who bully others." Rui spun around, his many threads snapping outward like angry wasps. But his pale eyes widened when he saw who had spoken. Giyu Tomioka stood there. His half and half Hayori fluttered gently in the night breeze. His face was impassive, calm as a still pond, and yet his Nicaran blade gleamed in the moonlight, ready and unwavering. You're one of the Hashira," Rui stammered, for the first time in the night, sounding uncertain. Giyu began to walk forward, each step measured, each movement exuding quiet authority. The ground barely seemed to crunch beneath his feet, his presence both subtle and suffocating. In desperation, Rui unleashed his threads, a storm of cutting strands meant to shred flesh and bone alike. They whipped through the air with shrill whistles, glinting with murderous intent. But Giyu didn't flinch. His blade moved, and with each stroke, the threads fell apart, sliced so cleanly that they dissolved into harmless fibers. Tanjiro watched in awe, his broken body trembling as he pushed himself to one elbow. His eye widened as Giyu's voice rang out, calm and absolute. Water breathing. 11th form. The world seemed to still. The oppressive air, the whipping threads, even the forest itself seemed to pause. Dead calm. Rui's eyes widened in shock. The blade flashed once, and then silence reigned. A heartbeat later, his head tumbled to the ground, this time severed with no hope of trickery. His body crumpled, disintegrating into ash as Rui let out a final, hateful scream that was silenced by the night. Tanjiro's chest heaved as he stared, stunned. His mind reeled. 11th form, but I thought there was only 10. As Rui's ashes scattered, another voice cut through the stillness. Good job, Giyu. That move you used seemed kinda cool. Both Tanjiro and Giyu turned slightly, their gazes drawn to the shadows at the edge of the clearing. From the darkness, Naruto Uzumaki stepped forward, his Hayori brushing softly against the undergrowth. His golden hair glinted faintly beneath the moonlight. His expression was unreadable. I think I'll analyze it, Naruto continued, his tone casual yet sharp, and make a move of my own based on yours. His eyes, however, were already drifting toward Nezuko. He tilted his head slightly, his expression sharpening as he studied her unconscious form. That girl, he said slowly. What's wrong with her? And what I really mean is, why isn't anyone trying to kill her? Tanjiro, bruised and broken, forced himself just enough to shield his sister with his body. His voice cracked, but his conviction was unshakable. She's my sister, he said, each word a vow. She's a demon, yes, but she hasn't hurt a single human. The forest held its breath, and in that moment, the fates of siblings, Hashira and demons alike, began to intertwine under the cold gaze of the moon. However, Naruto's right ear twitched. His eyes suddenly widened as he realized what exactly was about to happen. He quickly drew his katana, switching the way he gripped it, and threw it like a spear. At that very moment, Shinobu darted past him and Giyu as she went straight for the kill on Nezuko. When Shinobu went to thrust her blade into Nezuko's neck, Naruto's blade landed point first into the dirt in front of her, deflecting her strike. Shinobu spun around it, trying to finish what she started, but Giyu jumped in front of her, deflecting her strike as Tanjiro ran with Nezuko. As Tanjiro ran with Nezuko, every demon slayer was alerted by their crows, basically saying that Tanjiro was harboring and traveling with a demon, and that demon should be killed. Shinobu ran past Giyu and immediately took to the trees. Naruto went after her as he grabbed his sword from the ground. This isn't going to end smoothly. Meanwhile, as Tanjiro ran, he fell, forcing Nezuko to run by herself. Another female slayer ran past Tanjiro, going after Nezuko. However, Tanjiro grabbed her leg, giving her some time. Run, Nezuko! She kept running, and the slayer Tanjiro was holding onto slammed her white boot onto the top of his head and immediately went after Nezuko. Meanwhile, Shinobu had her sword locked with Naruto as she glared at him. Why are you stopping me? Naruto pushed her back. Because I'm choosing to trust Giyu's judgment, so I'm going to protect that little girl. Shinobu wasn't smiling as she looked at Naruto and spoke. What happened to destroying every last demon alive? Naruto closed his eyes for a second, gathering his thoughts. Shinobu took that moment to try and pass Naruto. However, she didn't know the true extent of his speed and ability, even if he was sealed at the moment. Naruto grabbed Shinobu as she tried to pass him. His hands wrapped and locked around her waist, holding her up in the air so she couldn't struggle as much. As Naruto held her, she looked up at him, an almost shy smile. "Uzumaki-san, you do realize how this looks, right?" Naruto's sweat dropped as he looked down at her, locking eyes with her. "It looks like I'm kidnapping you, but you're gonna have to stay here and be okay with it." The night had stretched on into uneasy silence after the chaos on Mount Natagumo. The cries of demons have faded, replaced by the steady creak of the butterfly mansion as it worked like hive, slayers moving about, healers working, attendants whispering in hushed voices about what had unfolded. 4 hours later, the immediate wounds had been treated. Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inosuke had been bandaged, their fevers reduced, their breathing stabilized. Each of them lay in futons within the mansion's infirmary, the aroma of medical herbs clinging thickly to the air. Their bodies were battered yet alive miraculously, so considering the night they had endured. But while the 3 young demon slayers rested, the weight of judgment had already gathered outside the mansion. The Hashiras were called. Beneath the pale wash of dawn, the strongest pillars of the Demon Slayer Corps stood aligned in 2 neat rows within the stone courtyard. Their haoris fluttered faintly in the morning breeze, their expressions sharp, their postures unwavering. At their center, Master Kagaya Ubuyashiki sat beneath the shade of a pavilion, his presence fragile yet commanding, his voice the thread holding the meeting together. 2 men stood apart from the line, Giyu Tomoyoka, his unreadable expression matching the calm stillness of water, and Naruto Uzumaki, arms folded, eyes closed as though he had not a care in the world. They were not standing within the other Hashira, not after what they had done. They were here as the accused, their actions at Mount Natagumo fresh in every mind. And a few feet before them, kneeling on the cobblestone, with his hands bound tightly behind his back, was Tanjiro Kamado, his forehead pressed against the ground, sweat trickling down his temples. Beside him sat the lacquered wooden box that housed Nezuko, its surface marked by scratches and scuffs, but still intact. The morning light sharpened the atmosphere to a blade's edge. Kagaya's gentle voice broke the silence first. "What do all of you think of what is happening with Tanjiro and the demon girl that he travels with?" The question spread like a ripple. None of the Hashira knew this was a test. None save for Naruto. He stood with his arms crossed, golden hair catching the light, his mind steady and detached. To him, this was nothing more than another trial of perspective. He had already chosen his stance. To him, Nezuko was no threat, but an asset. If a demon could fight demons, that was worth more than clinging to rigid tradition. Rengoku was the first to break the silence, his voice fiery and absolute. "I think we put both of them to death. The boy has endangered countless lives by traveling with a demon." His tone was thunderous, filled with conviction. Naruto shook his head, lips twisting faintly. To him, Rengoku sounded like a fool, narrow-minded, blinded by duty. Obanai Igaru was next, perched lazily in the low branches of a tree, with his serpent coiled around his neck. His mismatched eyes glimmered coldly. "I stand with the flame, Hashira. Our duty is to slay demons, not coddle them as pets. Naruto's frown deepened. Obanai's words were dripping with ignorance, the kind of thinking that left no room for nuance. Mitsuri Kanroji shifted uncomfortably. Her eyes flickered between her comrades before she spoke, her tone soft and uncertain. I don't think we should be too hard on Tanjiro-kun, but he did break the rules. It's hard to know what's right. Naruto exhaled heavily through his nose. Mitsuri's kindness was genuine, but her words lacked weight. She was caught between her expression, her compassion, and the fear of standing apart from others. Then Shinobu spoke, her tone deceptively light, but firm beneath the surface. I don't know the full extent of this matter, but I stand with Naruto-san and Tomioka-san on this. They stopped me for a reason. I trust that reason. Naruto's eyes cracked open for the first time since the meeting began, surprise flickering briefly before being buried beneath his calm exterior. Shinobu's support had not been expected, but it strengthened his stance. Sanemi, however, shattered the moment with his fury. Screw this! His boot slammed down onto Tanjiro's head, grinding his cheek against a stone. Tanjiro groaned, blood smearing across the ground. Why would you walk with such a thing? Tanjiro clenched his jaw and glared upward, his voice shaking but resolute. Because she's my sister, and she's never hurt another human. Ever! Sanemi sneered and yanked his foot away, only to kick the wooden box harshly into the shadows. The impact echoed through the courtyard. He drew his blade in one swift motion and drove it into the box, the wood splintering beneath the force. Tanjiro's eyes widened in horror. Sanemi tore the lid open and seized Nezuko by the collar, yanking her out into the light. Her small frame struck the wall with a harsh thud. Her fangs bared instinctively as she hissed through the pain. Chains rattled faintly around her limbs, meant to bind her should she ever lose control. You claim she doesn't harm humans? Sanemi snarled, blood dripping from the fresh cut he made across his own forearm. He held the wound before Nezuko's face, letting the crimson scent waft toward her. Then prove it. Let's see if this pet of yours can resist. Nezuko's breathing sharpened. Her pupils dilated as the metallic tang filled the air. For a moment, her body trembled, instincts clawing at her resolve. Every Hashira leaned in, waiting for the inevitable to snap. But then she turned her head away, her gaze, instead of focusing on the blood fixed firmly on Tanjiro. Her expression was twisted with struggle, but her choice was clear. She would not harm him, nor any human. The courtyard went still. Tanjiro's lips curved into a faint, trembling smile, tears brimming at the corners of his eyes. Kagaya himself let a subtle smile touch his face, but Sanemi's expression hardened in disbelief. You've got to be kidding me, he muttered. Tanjiro, despite his bindings, surged to his feet and charged at Sanemi. His head slammed forward, cracking against the man's skull. Blood trickled down Sanemi's forehead as Tanjiro gasped from the impact. The guards rushed in, dragging Tanjiro back down, pinning him roughly against the stone floor. Sanemi wiped the blood from his brow, his fury undiminished. He lunged for Nezuko again, but Kagaya's voice cut sharply through the courtyard. Enough. All eyes turned to the frail master. His pale hands trembled faintly as he unfolded a letter. the parchment worn but carefully sealed. His voice was calm, deliberate, yet carried the weight of finality. "This," Kagaya began, "is a message from Master Sakanji Urokodaki." The mention of the former Water Hashira's name drew the attention of all present, save for Naruto. Kagaya's tone remained steady as he read aloud. "I vouch for both Tanjiro and Nezuko. Tanjiro is a kind-hearted boy who only wishes to heal his sister. As for Nezuko, though she is a demon, she does not require human flesh. She sustains herself by sleep alone. I give you my word, along with Giyu Tomioka's, that Nezuko will never harm another human." The words lingered, wrapping around the Hashira like threads of judgment. Rengoku's expression faltered, his booming confidence dimming into contemplation. Obanai's eyes narrowed, his mistrust unyielding, but his tongue held. Mitsuri's face softened with relief, her shoulders easing. Shinobu's smile remained serene, though her gaze slid briefly toward Naruto, as if gauging his reaction. Naruto, however, stood silent. His arms remained folded, his head tilted just slightly back, eyes closed once more. He had no need to speak. Urokodaki's words had said what needed saying. Sanemi grit his teeth, his body tense, but Kagaya's authority left him no room to protest further. The dawn sun crept higher over the courtyard, casting long shadows across the cobblestone. Tanjiro knelt, battered but unbroken. Nezuko crouched by his side, her will unshaken. Giyu and Naruto stood apart, yet resolute, their silent defiance marking them as both outsiders and protectors. The Hashira had spoken, Kagaya had decided, and the future of Tanjiro and Nezuko, uncertain though it was, remained intact. And for Naruto, that was enough. He had acted on his judgment, not the core's rule, and in doing so, had carved a wedge in the rigid order of the Hashira. He did not care if they called him reckless or foolish or traitorous. To him, Nezuko was no monster. She was proof that not all demons were beyond saving. The meeting dissolved slowly, the Hashira dispersing into clusters of murmured conversations. But Naruto remained unmoved, his gaze flickering briefly toward Nezuko, as the faintest smile tugged at his lips. "An asset," he whispered to himself. "Definitely an asset." But guys, we're going to end it off right here. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe while you're at it. But without further ado, I am out, and I will see you guys in the next video. Stay blessed, y'all.